Okay, we are live. How's everybody doing? We got people here all over the world. How are you doing with the lockdown? Are you still staying inside or are you venturing out? I see lots of stores here in Amsterdam are starting to open back up. Merchants are ready to get back into business, get things moving again. Who'd like to share what's going on with where you're at?
Hi, Chris.
Yes.
It's Lisa.
Yes.
The U.S. I'm in New York, which was, I guess, the epicenter, whatever.
Uh-huh.
So everything is, we're kind of more strict than the rest of the country, I think, except for California. So everything, if you can imagine New York City being completely quiet, that's what it is.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's unbelievable. It's really to go to Times Square and not see anybody.
Same here
Oh,
with the
no.
red light district. It's a ghost town.
So I go out once a day. That's about it.
Uh-huh.
And everybody they're supposed to wear a mask almost everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So we take it a little bit more seriously, I feel, than the rest of the country. So
Yeah. How's the mood of the people there? How's the energy?
um, it's a city that really thrives on a lot of, adrenaline.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like the energy is pretty low here.
Yeah.
I think I think it's a little on the negative side. People are worried and everything.
Mm-hmm.
The only upside to me is the 7 o'clock, where 7 p.m., where everybody goes out and you hear yelling and clapping,
Uh-huh.
and people have signs and thanking all the healthcare workers, the
Yeah.
front line. But I think the energy
Oh, I heard
is a
that the
little.
Blue Angels flew through there.
Oh yeah, but here's the that's the good side, but here's the other side. I don't want to say bad, but the flip side is
Everybody went
that
outside to watch them?
exactly. So
Yeah.
there's no 6 feet. They did that for the remember the huge ship that came through,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
U.S.
The
Comfort,
Mercy, or yeah, the Comfort. Yeah.
the floating hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody was, but I love New York because the next day the articles in the paper are like, "What's going on? Where's the social distancing?" So
Yeah.
it's kind of
Well,
the mood. The mood. It's better now.
uh-huh.
It was really, really bad. It was like a lot of ambulances constantly you would hear, and it was you could really feel it here.
Yeah.
It was bad. It's letting up, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's a little negative, it's still not as bad as it was.
Yeah.
Does that
Interesting to
summarize
hear.
everything?
That's good to hear. Thank you for sharing.
Hope it
Now, one
wasn't
thing one thing that you could see though is that it is our picture because we could see different areas, different cities, even different cities that have big populations, all handle it differently, different moods, different attitudes. Here in Amsterdam, there was actually quite a lot of illnesses and hospitalizations per capita, like even more so than the U.S. So quite a lot was going on here, but overall it was really quiet. And I think for the first couple of weeks, there was a blanket of fear. You could just feel it in the air. And if you walked out to go to the store, you would see it in people. They wouldn't even look at you. Everybody was just keeping to themselves. Very, very fearful. But it lifted very quickly. And it's just been growing and growing. And it's interesting because here recently they had a King's Day. And we looked outside overall. I mean, it's a holiday here that in Amsterdam at least, the place is packed. I mean, shoulder to shoulder. So obviously they weren't having any of that. But it's a very important holiday here. So people were still partying in small groups and looked outside, lots of intermingling and so on. And this has been going on for at least 2 or 3 weeks. So it's not just this. We'll see what happens. But it's interesting because I've been watching people get out more and more. And this has been going on for weeks. And yet here the numbers are just still going down, 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 down. So it's interesting how you just have a different scenarios. And you have Sweden that never locked down, never did anything. And they said that they were going to be in all sorts of trouble, but it looks like it's manageable so far. So it's interesting. It's an interesting phenomena to look at, collective consciousness in different areas. If there's a lot of fear, you could see where the fear gets pulled in. A lot of problems get pulled in. All right. Good. Anybody else want to share? I see we have some games in the chat. Anka, you got a game?
Yes, this is my game.
Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah. I worked on this goal last year.
And that's a Yorkie.
And, yes. And the goal was set for the end of last year, but it happened now. So in a present, I received it last week, and it makes my life in this emergency state. It makes my life much easier.
Yeah. Is it a he or a she?
Is a she.
Ah, well, she looks very calm.
Yes.
She must be picking up on your releasing vibes.
Yeah.
Nice.
And we are still working from home, and it is.
Is it still strict there, where you can only go out for certain reasons?
No, they in the last couple of days they.
And for anybody that doesn't know, you're in Bucharest, in Romania.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are not so. There are not so many restrictions now for the people that are older than 60 years old. So yes, they can. For example, my parents can leave their home in a much greater intervals. For example, at 7 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock. So there are not so many restrictions, but the people are going out a lot. So there are a lot of cars, a lot of people on the streets, and we are a bit worried. Because we have to return to work beginning 18th of May, and it's a challenge for us to do this because there are people that have to come to work by bus or by other ways, and it's necessary to be near other people. So it's a bit.
But you're doing fine. Yeah?
Yes, I am doing.
You're happy working at home?
Yes.
With your new roommate?
Yeah, for me, this period was very nice because I like my home environment. So yes, I had some moments of fear, of course, because I think it's normal in this period. And also,
What are you afraid of? What's coming up?
Uh, so I think it's the survival mechanism. So I think fear
Mm-hmm.
of death.
Yeah.
So
Good.
yeah,
We can work on that this
yeah.
evening. I've got a fantastic evening. Thank you for sharing. And we'll check back in together.
Okay.
Hey. So, yeah, we're going to do something really amazing this evening. We're going to take a dive into surrendering and seeing that it is a powerful tool to being present, to being totally engaged with your life and what's going on in a position where you are actually in control and you can direct it. And it seems counterintuitive to the mind. But the more you let go, the more you surrender, the more control you actually have. So we're going to experience that here this evening. And what I'm also going to show you is how surrendering can completely erase a problem that you're facing. So I know a lot of us, we've had a lot of setbacks with this lockdown, financially in our business and in our relationships, not being able to connect and having probably too much connection in some cases, when we're cooped up with our family. So what I'm going to do is any problems that you have, we're going to just dive right into it. I'm going to show you how to surrender to it, turn the whole thing around so that what was a problem just transforms into a harmonious solution. So this is going to be a fun thing. And I want to start with sharing some quotes and a discussion from Lester, where he talks about the self, and it's right in line with surrendering. All right, so I'm going to share some of what Lester has to say here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do like a cleanup, a guided meditation. And if anybody is new here, just follow along. I'm not going to get too crazy or advanced with the work that we do here. I'm just going to keep it nice and simple. It's going to be very easy. And what you're going to love about what we do here is that it's 100% experiential, which means you get to set your mind aside. You don't have to figure anything out. You have to know what's going on. Just follow along. And you're just going to experience. You're going to experience what it means to let go of negativity and have the mind go quiet and experience what arises in this quiet state. Something that's very powerful, something that's very clear and present and knowing. And it's just like an instant thing that you know. And it's wonderful. And it feels great. So just follow along. And after that meditation, we'll do some work one-on-one. Like I mentioned a moment ago, we're going to work on problems, anything that you are worried about that you're facing, any challenges that are like right at your doorstep right now. We'll work on those. So we'll spend some time doing that. And then we'll see how late we go. We shouldn't be longer than about 2 hours here. All right, so let me share what Lester has to say about what life really should be like. Check this out. There's no effort in life whatsoever if we would just be our own natural self. But we are trying to be a limited ego. That takes effort. It takes effort to be limited when your natural state is unlimited. And the more you try to be limited, the more effort it takes. But to be your unlimited self takes no effort. And in another conversation that Lester is having with the student, Lester was telling him about effort, about what I was just sharing that he had said before. You're using effort right now in trying to make yourself effortless. That's impossible. It's a contradiction. You've got to stop using effort. You've got to let go and let be. And what is meant, and that's what is meant by let go and let God. You are it. You are God. Let go and let yourself be. However, it seems to take much effort. And who here's experienced that? Because you are using tremendous effort to hold on to and maintain your non-self, your ego. And there is where your effort is. It takes no effort to be what you are, the self. Now the student he's talking to responds, if I could arrive at the dreamer instead of the dream, then I'd have it made. And that's what I've been thinking. This is a dream. Whose dream is this? And Lester responds, right. Discover the dreamer. To make it more intimate, I, the infinite being, am dreaming that I am a limited body. While you are in a night dream, and you think you are a limited body in that night dream, it persists so long as you don't wake up. It's the same thing with this waking state. We're dreaming we're limited bodies. We have to wake up to the fact that we are infinite. We have to stop thinking that we are limited bodies. That's all. Stop thinking. Let go. Let be. Surrender is the word. If we would surrender to this moment, that would be it. Not I, but thou. Not my will, but thy will. This is surrender. We could do that right now, and that would be it. But no, we've got to be a busy ego body, doing something. We must be a doer. And the student asks again. Several of the people at the motel were discussing robots. Actually, I guess we can consider the body a robot. We're using this physical body, and when we're through with it, we drop the physical body. But what we have is still there. And Lester agrees. That's an excellent way to look at the body. All right? Now I'll tell you something more. If you were really convinced of what I've said so far, you'd go home, you'd forget everything else, and you would sit down until you saw this. Because this would give you everything. Just for the thought. If you were really convinced, you'd go home determined to sit until you see this. And if you did that, you'd see it. Just like Buddha did when he left his throne and sat under a tree, determined not to leave until he saw the answer. And he saw the answer. Powerful. See, Lester's talking about going all the way. What's required? All right. So let's get in touch with our higher state, our beingness now. So wherever you are, I know some of you are here with our conference on Zoom. Some of you are watching live on YouTube. And if you would like to join us on Zoom, go to the description. You'll see a link there. So you can register and you can join if you want to participate, ask questions, and so on. All right, so wherever you are, go ahead and turn off any other distractions. Let yourself relax. Just settle down, get nice and relaxed, get nice and quiet. And close your eyes. And say to yourself, just gently, I. I. Like Lester said, there's nothing more intimate than I. I is the thing that you cannot let go of. Notice all the other stories that occur in your life, including the story that's going on right now with this lockdown, with the shutdown of the economy, with people dying. These stories come and go. Year in, year out, new stories come and they go. Life changes, it moves on, and your story changes. During a certain time in your life, you're all focused about certain goals. You live in certain places, you hang out with certain people. But over time, that story changes. Goals change, people change, the scenery changes. But there's one thing that doesn't change. I. So focus in on that. I. 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 And as you think about the things that are going on in your life right now, with this lockdown, with your life constricted, whatever's going on right now, when you think about it, notice it's a thought. You're thinking. It's just in your mind right now that you know that story. And that story coming from your mind is different than the I. It's the I that's aware of the story. But the I is not the story. It's just the awareness. And just watch that story and see if there's a story that's bothering you right now. Maybe something that's problematic. Even an emergency in your life right now. Now when you think about it, those thoughts just coming up as noise and pictures in your mind. But notice the I, the part of you that's looking at that story. And that's something different. That's something that's coming from a place of spaciousness, a place of quiet, a place that cannot be touched by that story. So the problem, the story is only in the mind. And as long as you keep it in your mind, it is going to be a problem. But you can remove it from your mind. Whatever it is that's bothering you right now. And whatever that is that's bothering you, as you're thinking about that, bring your attention to your stomach or chest, right here. And you can put your head down, have your eyes closed. So you can just bring all your awareness to what you're feeling in your stomach or chest when you think about this problem. And notice if you have a gripping, tight, clenching feeling when you're thinking about this problem. And what that is you pushing on your feelings and you resisting what's going on. Now they have an expression. What you resist persists. And you know that this is true. You've seen this happen time and again in your life. Things that you were fighting against, you did not want to happen, you were resisting. You couldn't help but go through those things. They just came down on you like a sledgehammer. Now surrender is the opposite. Surrender instead of resisting and pushing away. And right now, look at what it is that you're pushing away. Whatever problem you're thinking of, is it in the room with you right now? Probably not. Where is that problem? In your mind. And the real problem that you have with it right now in this moment, because it's not in the room with you, is that it's just a feeling. And that's what you're resisting now. Take a look. And when you resist your feelings, you see you're holding on to the problem. And that's exactly how. And you can probably see now that that's not too smart. And you can also probably see that you're the one who's doing it. I mean, who else could be resisting right now, if not you? So let's start opening up. Wherever you feel that tightness, that clenching feeling in your stomach or chest right now, right in front of that, open up an imaginary window or door. And that energy, it's like a ball of energy that's in that contraction, in that clutching. Now just imagine this energy moving through the door, leaving. Just imagine it leaving. However you want to imagine it, whatever that looks like to you. Imagine that energy going on out the door some more. And some more. And some more. And even more. And just open up. Let that energy leave. Feel yourself opening up even more. And feel that energy just flowing on out the door. And some more. And some more. Now notice how you feel. Notice if you feel lighter. Notice that difference. And think about that problem. And see if you're as bothered, as worried, as stressed out as you were a few moments ago. See if that problem seems as real as it did a few moments ago. Notice that difference? So when you open up and surrender, the problem dissolves, disappears. And right now, you might say, well, it's just a feeling, it's just in my mind. I mean, the problem is still there. Well, right now, the problem is in your mind, and that is reduced. And what's wrong with that? Even if it's still out there for some reason. If you feel lighter, and you're not as stressed out and bothered, what's wrong with that? See, now you're in a better position to face the problem if you still have to. But notice, your mind is quieter about it. And this is showing you that the problem can dissolve. And if you keep opening up, keep surrendering. See, when you opened up this door, this is an act of surrender. Instead of resisting the feelings, you're just leaning into them, opening up to them, being vulnerable to them. And the problem disappears, dissolves right in front of your eyes. So think about a challenge. Think about something as we come out of lockdown that's going to be a challenge for you. Maybe you have a lot of work to catch up with. Maybe you have a lot of back bills that you need to catch up and start paying. You're like, oh, this is going to be hard work for a while. And maybe things are going to be lean. And when you think about whatever challenge you're anticipating in the months, even years ahead here, go ahead and put your head down. Close your eyes. You see, you're never going to undo the thoughts with the thoughts. Just like Lester said, you're not going to go free, become effortless through effort. You do it by undoing the effort, right? So we're not even going to mess with the thoughts. We're not going to mess with the stories. We're not going to mess with the mind. We're just going to turn it off. That's why I'm asking you to put your head down, close your eyes, so you can just focus on what you're feeling here in your stomach or chest. And this challenge, see if it stirs up a tightness, a contraction. And just feel where that is. Notice how that feels. Just notice. And now open up a door right in front of that. Let that energy leave out the door now. And even more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And just open up. Let the energy leave. It really wants to leave. It's been begging to leave all this time, except you've been pushing it down, preventing it from leaving. But now, you're opening up. Notice how happy it is to leave. It's joyous. Finally, I get to be free. So open up even more and let more of that energy go. And even more. And even more. And even more. And even more. Now, I want you to put your attention back on your mind. Just pay attention to your mind. Observe it. Now, even though I bet you're feeling lighter because you opened up, and when you think about this challenge ahead, the hard months and years ahead, you feel lighter about it, right? But notice, your mind is still persistent. Still wants to hold on to that problem. It wants to fix something about it. See, notice your mind isn't satisfied with what we're doing here. It's very quick to reject it. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's nice, but let me jump back in here and take control. Notice your mind is still looking to solve the problem, to do something about it, take some sort of action. Well, you heard what Lester said. These are for dummies. That's just following the mind. Now, who's that mind talking to? And who is listening to it? Now, when we listen too much to the mind, we start to identify with it. We start to take it seriously. But when we start looking at who it's talking to, who the listener is, you see, you're the owner. The I of you is the owner. And it doesn't have to take anything from the mind. It doesn't have to go along with it and it says, oh no. You still have to figure it out. You still have to do something about it. Because notice, that's coming from an agitated state. It's coming from a state of lack. A free one. Someone who's completely open and surrendered doesn't have to take any action. Or, if they do, it is completely effortless. Just like what Lester was talking about. See, using effort and trying to make yourself effortless, that's impossible. That's a contradiction. You've got to stop using effort. You've got to let go and let be. You're it. Let go and let yourself be. Stop being the ego. Stop listening to that mind. And see, it's your choice. Because who is that mind talking to? So right now, can you decide to let go of following along with the mind? See if the mind is trying to get you to figure out how to solve this problem still. How to do something about it. Right now, you just decide not to go along with it. Because what does your mind really know? Your mind is telling you, hey, follow my lead. I'm going to help you find a solution. But look at what it does. It drags you all over the place. It drags you over the rocks. And at the end of all of that, what does your mind tell you? All right, you haven't been able to solve the problem. You know what? You're a loser. You're no good. You should beat yourself up. What a great friend that is. That's the thing that you've been identifying with. Now take a look. See if you've been beating yourself up. Feeling down on yourself. Maybe even telling yourself some poor me story. Oh my God, my life sucks now. Well, how does that help you? Is that going to get you to overcome a challenge? No. That's going to get you flattened by that challenge. And who's doing that? You are. You're the one who's in charge. So if you're doing it, now's the time to make a decision. Number one, I'm not going to follow my mind. I'm going to start running the show. I'm going to make the decisions. I'm not just going to blindly follow whatever my mind decides. It's up to me. And what do I choose right now? Either I choose to be negative and beat myself up, or I choose to be positive and love myself. Now, which do you prefer? Well, I'm assuming you're preferring to be positive. So since you're in charge, could you decide now to let go of disapproving of yourself? And it's just a yes or no decision. Yes or no. Could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit more? And could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit more? And could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit more? And even more. And even more. And even more. And could you let go of criticizing yourself? How does that help you? Or judging yourself? Could you let that go? Who's doing it? If you're doing it now, just let it go. And let go of judging yourself. Maybe you're judging yourself based on the position you are in your life right now. Maybe you're judging yourself on some decisions that you've made. All that stuff is in the past. How is judging yourself going to change that? What does that accomplish other than taking you down, 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 down? Stop going down. You're in charge. Could you let that go? And could you let that go some more? And some more. And some more. And some more. And even more. And even more. And even more. And could you let that go even more? And even more. And even more. And notice how you feel now. Lighter? So this is proving your power to pull yourself up, move yourself in a positive direction. Now, let's move in a real positive direction. Let's strengthen this decision. Move forward. Be positive. Could you give yourself some love now? It's a choice. Could you just love yourself a little bit? If not too much, at least just a little bit. And for no reason. It's not anything that you need to convince yourself, tell yourself nice things. That's not it. It's just direct. Could you like yourself? Could you love yourself? Just because. Just because it's Thursday. And could you love yourself a little bit more? And could you love yourself a little bit more? And even more. And even more. All right, how does that feel? Now take a look at that challenge ahead and see if you're in a better position to face this challenge. Now, one of the great things about this work is that it's very practical. And each step along the way, along your path to going all the way free, you can keep it practical. So even in a very practical sense, just by letting go, by releasing, and being loving and surrendering, it's a very practical thing because you feel lighter, you feel more positive, you feel more confident. Your mind isn't swimming with problems. So even if you do have to take action, even if you still have to face the challenge, isn't this a better place? And isn't it more likely that you'll succeed? But even beyond that, you might feel something deeper now. That there was nothing to that problem to begin with. And the problem might not be so real. Not as real as the love I'm experiencing now. And this is the thing that we all have to remember. And I know some of us, we've been practicing this diligently for a while. And some of us here, we've been practicing this for a long, long time. And some of us have been doing a lot of spiritual work for a long, long time. But it's still easy to get caught in the mind, to think that you're releasing, to think that you know it all. And the problem is that you're thinking it. So either you think it or you do it. So as we move up, we got to let go. We got to surrender even, not just the stuff that bothers us, but also the seemingly positive stuff that we feel about ourselves and that we feel that we know about ourselves and about spirituality. We need to let all that knowledge go. Drop it so that we can just be it. So however you feel right now, Feel lighter? More positive? Could you let go of that nice feeling right now? Just let it go and see if things get even better. And let go of how you feel now. And see if things can get even better. And whatever it is that you're feeling now, feeling even super nice, could you let that go? See if it could get even better. And let go even more. And let go even more. And even more. And notice what you're experiencing now. Probably something beyond what you thought you would achieve tonight. Just letting go. Something very serene. Otherworldly. Beyond problems. And that is your home. That is the very center of you. And it's beyond any problem. And here's a great thing about surrendering. It opens you up to home. When you surrender to self. It seems like you're surrendering to a problem, a challenge, a situation in front of you. But you're opening up to yourself. And that's beyond the problem, and that's why the problem disappears immediately. So, we'll get into some ways to surrender here, to focus in on that here this evening as we continue. All right, so now, when you're ready, you can open up your eyes. All right, so would anybody like to work on something that is important to you, something that's going on in your life? In the Zoom app, at the bottom, you'll see a little ... for more menu options. And from there, you could raise your hand, or you can open up a chat window so you could type in. And let me check with someone here. Oh no, there you are. I was looking for you, Rosa, but you raised your hand. You're at the top of the list now. You had your hand up at the end of our last session. How are you doing, Rosa?
I'm doing good, thank you. Last time I wanted to share again, but today I want to work with something that came up while you were doing the cleanup.
Uh-huh.
And that's when I was doing the cleanup, my sisters were popping up in my mind and other women in my life. And there was like a negativity coming up. It's like me disapproving of them. And so it's like, okay, this is something that I need to work with because they're my mirror, so it's in me.
Uh-huh. All right, so what bothers you about them?
That they disapprove of me.
Okay. And do you disapprove of them?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So you want them to stop first before you stop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, these are older women.
That's
that
why
I
they're
get
not.
my
That's
money.
why they're not stopping. And they'll never stop. So you're only left with one option left. Would you be willing to take that option? Would you be willing
Yes.
to stop it?
Yes.
Okay. So get in touch with your disapproval of them. You don't like that they don't like you. You don't like their attitude. You don't like the way that they look at you. Right?
Yes.
Okay, can you let go of disapproving of that?
Yes.
See, look at what that disapproval has you doing, has you hold it in mind. When you think of disapproving of them and you get a picture of them, you're seeing a mean face, aren't you? And that's your
Yeah.
picture. And maybe by holding that in mind, you're creating that mean face to show up right in front of you. Maybe. But there's
Yeah.
one way you can find out. Now, you know that disapproving hasn't solved the issue. So there's only one thing left to do. Could you let that go?
Yes.
And could you let go of disapproving of them a little bit more?
Yes.
Could you let go of disapproving of them a little bit more?
Yes.
And could you let this go a little bit more? Disapproving of them.
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
Right? How does that feel?
It feels better, and what came up is that it's my mind, because when I have the picture of these women, the first reaction is my mind telling me something negative, so I'm reacting to my mind.
Yeah. And you see, what the mind is doing is it's feeding information right back to you. Something that you decided. So it's like you programmed the mind to begin with.
Yes, I see.
But now the mind, in turn, is kind of programming you. Because it's spitting that information right back at you. And because you're identifying with it, sometimes you just forget who you are. You start thinking you're the mind without realizing it.
Yes.
And then you start believing what it says about those women.
Yes.
All right. So now, here's how you just get out of the mind. Practice love. And love is a form of surrender. This is a great practice of it right here. See, it starts with the decision. Set your ego aside. So first of all, Rosa, could you let go of needing to be right?
Yes.
Because you were about to jump into a story earlier about, they're older, they're set in their ways, or
Yes.
something, right?
Yes,
and you know better than them, right? You're smarter, you're more worldly, and so on.
Well, no, but these are my older sisters, and they're supposed to be the example.
Okay. But see, you have a feeling, I'm right. I know better than them.
There you go. Yeah.
Could you let go of your ego? Set that aside. Let go of your
Yes.
need to be right.
Yes.
And you know better.
Could you let that go some more?
Yes.
And could you let that go some more?
Yes.
Okay.
And could you let that go some more?
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
And could you let that go even more?
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
Right? How does that feel?
That feels much better. That was really, really, really good. Like, can you let go of your need to be right? It's like, oh, yes.
What's the big deal? What do you think? You're going to win a trophy if you're right? Is there any
It's
problem with allowing them to be right?
it, no, it's avoiding being stupid or
Other than your
being
ego
dumb.
doesn't like it.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like I said, can you just set your ego aside
Yes.
and move above it? Make a decision. I'm practicing love now.
Yes.
Right? So, could you love them?
Yes.
And could you love them a little bit more?
Yes.
And could you love them a little bit more?
Yes. Uh, that feels much better.
And could you love them even more?
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
And could you love them exactly as they are?
Yes.
Right? And imagine them criticizing you, bossing you around maybe.
Yes.
Right? Can you surrender to it instead of resisting it? And when you think about them bossing you around, does it bring up any resistance?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How does that help you?
It doesn't help. It makes things worse.
Yeah, and whose resistance is that? Who's
Mine.
doing that? Okay, so it belongs to you. You're doing it. And all it accomplishes is just you feel bad.
Yes.
Right? You're the one who has to walk around with that resistance, and you're the one who's creating it in real time,
Yes.
even right now. So could you let go of resisting?
Yes.
Could you let go of resisting a little bit more?
Yes.
And could you let go of resisting a little bit more?
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
How does that feel?
It feels much better, but it brought up the fear of being abused.
Okay. Can you let go of resisting being abused?
Yes.
Because how does it help you to resist it? It doesn't stop it, right?
Right.
It just makes it
I'm
worse.
Yes. We're constantly in a battle.
Could you let go of resisting it?
Yes.
And a little bit more.
Yes.
And a little bit more.
Yes.
And a little bit more.
Yes.
All right, how do you feel?
More quiet.
Okay. Take a look at that story of being abused. Could you say yes to that story? Now, they're not in the room with you, so it's just in your mind. It's just a story right now. There's no harm in it. Just look at the story and say yes to it.
Yes.
Say yes to being abused.
Yes.
Just say yes to a little bit more. Right now it's just a story.
Yes.
And say yes to a little bit more.
Yes.
And a little bit more.
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
How do you feel now?
Some sadness came up, some grief.
Okay. Open up. Let it leave. You said it's coming up. Why do you think it's coming up?
Because it wants to leave.
It wants to leave. Now get out of the way. Another act of surrender. Just take a virtual step back. Let that sadness, grief come up. And just let it pass through. Let it leave. And is it moving?
Yes.
Good. Let it leave some more.
Yes.
And some more.
Yes.
And some more.
Yes.
And how do you feel now?
Expanded.
Let me ask you this. Can you be abused in the state that you're in right now?
No.
So you surrender to it, you let go of resisting it, and say you just let it be and you allowed it to be, and look at what happened. You got powerful. So surrendering is not weakness. Not at all. It's power.
Mm.
And the more you surrender, the more powerful you get. Now, could you allow your sister and the others to be exactly as they are?
Yes.
Just grant them the right to be however they want to be. Because you know, if you just surrender, they can't touch you. There's nothing that can be touched.
Mm.
Right? So just let them be. This is surrendering right now. Let them be. And this is just like Lester said. Let go. Let be. Surrender. Could you let them be some more?
Yes.
And some more.
Yes.
And some more.
Yes.
And how does that feel?
Very quiet, and it's like that empty space where there's nothing.
Yeah, and you can hang out there all the time. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes.
It's your choice. If you could do it now, see if you could do it for 5 seconds. You could do it for 10 seconds. And you could then do it for 10 minutes. And then 10 days. And then forever.
Mm.
And if it's nice, it can only get nicer.
I like that.
Well, you know, it gets nicer and nicer and nicer.
It does. It does. I know it already. I felt it. I know.
All right. Good. Wonderful. What was the game that you wanted to share?
Last time I wanted to share that remember how I said it was a little bit the gain of passive income.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So it's been a month and it's like very nice.
Nice.
Passive income. Yeah.
And see, you released on that.
Yeah.
Because we worked on that. Let go of letting it be small and allowing it to be as big as it could be.
Yes.
It could be as big as it is small. The mind sets the size.
Yes.
Right. Now,
I'm feeling really happy about it. Really, really happy. Not no fear of having a lot of money. No fear of like making this happen. And it's like, wow, it's so exciting. Feeling really happy. Feeling
great.
really happy.
Wonderful. Keep it up and keep allowing that
Thank
to
you.
expand.
Yes.
Yeah. Terrific gain. Congratulations.
Thank you so
Good.
much.
All right, Owana.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Chefach.
How are you, Chris? Dina. I'm strolling around the block
Uh-huh.
because we can't stay only in the house.
Yes.
So I'm strolling.
Uh-huh. And how are you doing?
Um, I'm alive, so everything is perfect from that perspective. The only thing is that sometimes I'm more in peace, and sometimes I'm less in peace.
Uh-huh.
And I'm disapproving myself that I'm not better, let's say, all the time.
Okay. Well, let me
That
ask
I
you.
have ups and downs.
I got it. But let me ask you, what is it that gets you into the peace?
The fact that I accept that I have ups and downs.
You accept it or you surrender to it. Yeah?
Yes, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. I feel like a resistance. Actually, it's sometimes like actually a
Wait, what does
resistance,
resistance have to do with getting into peace? Except if you let go of the resistance, then you feel peaceful, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you let go. That's how you find the peace, right? You just surrender.
I know. And now I'm going to say but. It's easier to say it sometimes than do it.
Of course.
And
Well, if you say it, it's impossible. It's not easy
Yeah.
if you say it. It's easier just to do it. When you say it, when you think it, get into your mind about it, and you should on yourself, oh, I should be doing this. That's where the effort is. You see that?
yeah,
All right. And you don't like it. And you get caught up in the effort and you get stuck in it. But again, notice what gets you to the peace. It's when you just surrender. When you let go first of disapproving of what's going on. See if you're disapproving of yourself for not being peaceful more often.
yes.
Okay. Does that help you get peaceful by beating yourself up?
No, it gets me more activated.
Uh-huh. Okay. We should start an ashram. The ashram of beating yourself up to freedom. We can all practice it daily.
Yeah.
So obviously that doesn't work. And who's doing that?
I'm doing it.
Okay. So if you're doing it and it doesn't help, it's not getting you more peaceful, what do you decide to do about that? Do you want to keep beating yourself up, or would you rather go in a different direction? Be more loving?
I would rather let it go.
Okay. Good. So could you let go of disapproving of yourself?
Yes.
A little bit.
Yes.
And could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit more?
Yes.
Could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit more?
Yes.
And could you let go of disapproving of yourself a little bit more?
Yes.
And a little bit more.
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
And even more.
Yes, I feel like I have energy stuck in my upper body, and I'm disapproving of it.
Could you let go of disapproving of it right now? Now that you see it, and you see you're
Yes.
doing it because you said it,
Yeah.
I'm disapproving of it.
Yeah.
Could you let that go? Yes or no?
Yes.
Just a little bit, and a little bit more,
Yes.
and a little bit more.
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 Yes.
And how does that feel?
I feel more space. I mean, there is still energy, but it's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I accept it. It's there. It gets out or it doesn't.
Good.
It doesn't matter.
Can you give the energy permission to be there
Yes.
and let go of wanting it to change?
Yes.
And could you surrender to that energy? Give her permission to
Yes.
be there. Give her permission to say, and just say, I surrender to you. And just let your
I
guard
surrender
drop.
to you.
You know, let go of protecting yourself from that feeling.
Yes.
Allow yourself to be open, vulnerable to the feeling. Just open and feel it.
Yes.
Could you open up and surrender some more?
Yes.
And could you surrender to it some more?
Yes.
And some more.
Yes.
And some more.
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
And even more.
Yes.
And how does that feel?
It's peaceful and it's space. I
Yeah.
mean, there is energy, but it's space. Is within a space of peace.
Yeah, that was the piece that you're looking for. And so it's important to remember what it is that gets you there. It's not thinking about it. It's doing it. It's just opening up. Jumping in. And you're right back into the piece. In fact, it's so fast. It's like, wow. It never even left.
It's
Right?
rediscovery.
Yeah. See, the piece has always been here. It's always here waiting for you. All you have to do is just open up and surrender to it.
Thank you.
All right, good work. Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Yes. Leon, how are things in Brooklyn?
It's better a little bit, but still pretty tense.
Yeah?
Yeah. So I just want to share my experience with working with my body in this situation. On one hand, I really thought it's a great opportunity to really go all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Because the pressure outside.
Me
is so
too,
high.
by the way.
Huh?
Me too.
Yeah. The pressure from outside world, which our creation, is high. It means that the pressure inside high too. So, and the whole month of March, I was really in amazing energy compared to what's going on around me. But a couple of days ago, I was start coughing,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not like a major thing, but because I already heard so much, and we have people around us suffering, kind of all my old feelings, which I thought really, really somewhere deep came up, and they were so strong that I had a really hard time to be in my eye. And it was literally hour by hour, in and out, in and out. I was releasing, I was better, then in an hour I have to release again. Then in an hour I have to release again.
Mm-hmm.
Then in apathy, then in fear, I was really shocked by these waves of feeling.
Uh-huh.
So I thought that's a good example of how release has to be constant.
Yes.
Sometimes I was the whole month I was painting when everybody was scared.
And that's great of you to go to that, to keep reminding yourself when something comes up, oh, this too must be released, and not letting it get further than your nose. You're taking the step to do that right when you see it.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I saw quite a few moments when I was beating myself up because it was overwhelming. The feelings, and right now, basically, to be in a higher state, I have to watch myself all the time because it keeps coming up.
Mm-hmm. So what it takes is a simple decision that whatever it is coming up, however long it takes for it all to come up, even if it takes 30 years, and it just keeps coming up, or 30 lifetimes even, just having it all come up, I'm fine with that. I surrender to that. I'm going to let it take whatever it takes, and I'm going to stay with it until it all comes up, whatever it takes. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, a couple of times that the mind produced this line that it is possible that you're gonna end up without mastering this thing,
Mm-hmm.
and just on the way to releasing, on the way to Damascus, kind of.
Uh-huh. It's possible that you won't make it?
Yes.
Okay.
Like,
So
this
right
situ-
there. See, could you give yourself permission not to make it?
Yes.
All right. And allow any resistance to come up. See if part of you is bothered by that. Disturbed by it. That idea. You won't make it.
Yeah.
You did all this work. You didn't quite do enough. So you're going to have to come back. Like starting back in school from kindergarten again. All right. Could you be okay with that?
I think it's a want of control.
See, this is what Lester was talking about. He says you're using effort trying to make yourself effortless. See, you're shooting on yourself. I gotta get there. I gotta cross that finish line. Do or die. It's gonna make you die.
Yeah, in this situation, it looks so realistic. Everything like.
Okay,
like
well, see, here's the thing. What you do is you call its bluff. And what I was describing earlier about making that decision, whatever it takes, however long it takes, that's calling its bluff. Because sometimes the ego picks on you about that, right? It's going to take you forever. You're never going to make it, right?
Right.
But if you say, okay, I'm fine, but I'm going to keep doing it anyway, whether I make it or not, and I'm determined to make it, so whatever it takes, I'm going to do it. Nah.
Right.
Right? And so you call the ego's bluff. And see, this has happened to me. I've been releasing for a long time. I've had all of these ego challenges. Every single one of them. I faced these. Now, every time my ego gave me a very strong reaction like that, and I just said, okay, fine. Even if it takes forever, I'm going to do it anyway. And immediately, what looked like a forever process, no light at the end of the tunnel, just fell right into my lap. Have you experienced that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I actually, one of the main tools I guess try to use is surrender. Like, okay, all right, it's pretty tough here. It is possible that I maybe will not be able to make it.
Mm-hmm.
I surrender to this
Okay.
thought.
Yeah. Could you give yourself permission to not make it?
Yes.
And could you give yourself permission to not do it?
Yes.
And some more.
Yes.
And could you decide to be happy anyway?
Yes.
And could you decide to be positive despite not making it?
Yes.
And could you be happy with having to do the whole thing all over again from scratch? Okay, can you let that go?
Yeah.
Right, just let it go. It came up. It was like a pressure cooker.
Yeah, it's a body reaction. Yes. Yes. I give you myself permission not to make it at all. Failed badly.
Okay, just let go. Let go of resisting that.
Yeah.
And let go of resisting that some more.
Yeah.
And some more.
Mine says you're gonna be miserable now.
Can you say, okay, I'm happy with that.
I'm happy.
I don't care. I'm imperturbable about that.
I'm imperturbable about it. Yes.
Right? And can you give yourself permission to have 10 more miserable lifetimes after this? See, it's karma. You had such a good lifetime this time, you're going to have to suffer the next 10.
I allow myself suffering the next 100 lives.
Can you just allow that to be?
It's easy actually. It's not sticky to me.
How about that? Right, now, can you open up and surrender even more?
There is no hard feeling. I had this week so many hard feelings so many times when I had to go through this thing, and now it's kind of
Yeah, now you see you didn't. It was just your imagination. Nothing ever happened. So can you surrender now?
yes.
And can you surrender some more?
Yes.
And some more.
Yes.
And some more.
Yes.
And how do you feel now?
It's a lot of space. A lot of space. I didn't have so much space the whole week. It's I don't know. I'm really shocked.
Yeah, see, those problems that you thought you had, how true are they now?
I don't think about that.
Yeah, which means they aren't there. They never were there.
How come I couldn't reach it the whole week? And here, bumps.
Who cares?
Yeah.
You want me to try to figure that out for you?
Okay. I don't care. Yes.
Yeah, okay, just surrender to now. That's all you need to do.
Yes. But it's
Set
easy
your
to
mind
surrender.
aside.
It's easy to surrender to now with this huge emptiness inside of me.
Yeah, and
I
the emptiness is always there. You're just looking at it.
Yeah.
What are you complaining about?
You know, I like to complain.
See, you're imagining you're going to have problems in the future. Do you have a problem now?
I don't.
All right, then there's nothing to think about. Stop creating problems in the future,
Yes.
right? Let go of your mind now.
It's not much left.
Okay,
Okay.
then how about getting rid of the rest of it?
Okay.
Or do you want to hold on to it? You want to keep it?
No.
Okay.
I'll let it go. Yes.
Look, you've been showing up like to every class for what, 2-3 years now?
Yeah.
And you've been very focused, and look at how easily you're releasing, like on your own. And I remember when we started, you're like, I can only release with you, right?
Ah, you remember that? Yes.
Look at the night and day difference. And see, time and again, I've said that all this negativity that we have, it's measurable. And there's a limit to it. There's a certain amount that we've suppressed and we're holding inside. And as we let go, we're eliminating that much of it each time. And this is what Lester said. See, by releasing, you just eliminate a little bit of the ego, a little bit at a time. Sometimes we get impatient. Like I said, who cares how long it takes? I'm doing it anyway, right? So you just keep letting go, getting rid of a little bit more of the ego. And this is what Lester pointed out, is that at some point of letting go of the ego, you see the rest of it, the whole totality of what's remaining. It's just like a little bit left. And then you decide to drop the rest of it. And that's it. You're done. See if you're ready to take that step.
Oh, that's a big contraction. Oh my God.
Oh, okay. Well, can you open up?
I surrender.
And just surrender to the contraction. Open up the door. Feel the energy moving through.
You know, I feel the energy like a big stone blocks. Boom. It's empty.
Okay.
Actually, I think yes. I think I'm ready.
Okay.
Mind said you're not ready. I don't have mind. I don't know what's said. Yes. Yes.
Can you open up some more?
Yes.
And
A
some
little
more.
bit. Yeah. I'm really, really nothing.
And even more. How does that feel?
Very still, no time feeling, some feeling of movement on my skin, but skin is not belong to the shape.
Okay, just let it all go. And let it go some more.
I stuck a little bit. I just surrendered to stuckness.
Mm-hmm. You feel pretty good? You got a handle on it?
Yes.
Okay, good. Just keep allowing it to unfold. Just stay with it. And let it get better and better and better.
Thank you.
All right. You see, it's a good practice to surrender. And one of the great things about surrendering is that it really is practical. See, it is totally reasonable to look at if you really have an intention to go free. And you've seen some examples of free ones. Right? You've seen Lester, there's Eckhart Tolle. You've seen others, there are others that are around now. And you're like, there's definitely something there. And if they can do it, maybe I can do it. And if you're really serious about doing that, a free one isn't closed to anything. A free one has answers for everything. A free one has nothing hidden. Now, when we are not surrendering, we're resisting, we're pushing away, we're separating, we're closing ourselves off. And so we're hiding, right? We're creating a barrier. And so what I mean by that this is practical is, say you have a problem or a situation, something that's really bugging you. Now, however real that problem might be, as long as you're resisting, it will always seem real. And it might seem like a bitter pill to swallow to surrender to it. It might be something that you might find very horrible. But if you want real freedom and you want to know the truth of whether that thing exists or not, there's only one way to find out, is to completely go into it. Because as long as you're resisting or staying closed off, you'll never know the truth. So that just makes sense. And that's nice and practical. Right? If you want to know the truth, dive into whatever problem is facing you. Dive straight into it. Now, talking about masters, Eckhart Tolle, he uses the expression a lot, portals. And in some of his work, his meditations, his talks, he suggests using portals. Now is a portal. Just get in touch with now. It's a portal to experiencing yourself. And I like that metaphor of portals. Because when you're looking at surrendering, like to a problem, see, instead of trying to figure it out, trying to work your way around it, or trying to take action to knock that problem down, instead, the problem is a portal. So instead of doing all that other nonsense, you just surrender into it. You step through that portal, and it's like walking through a doorway. You just walk straight into your beingness, and that's what we've been experiencing here. We've been facing this, all the things that bother us, surrendering to them, and we see it just turns around like that. Now, we've got a couple more questions to cover, but first, before we do that, I want to point out something here. Because if you like what we're doing here, I think this is powerful. We're going to kick this up times 10 starting next Friday. We've got a 6-week course here called Live Your True Purpose. See, it's everything we're talking about here and taking this guidance from Lester about going all the way. And noting what Lester said, it is effortless. If you think it takes effort to go free, you're looking at it wrong. And this is what we're going to practice here in the 6-week course, is we're going to practice the skills of being in a release all the time. And not just skimming the surface, but being in deep release moment by moment with everything and using everything in the moment. And we're going to actually see how easy it is to get totally focused on going free. Because notice what I read earlier from Lester when he said, if you really knew what it was that was waiting for you on the other side, then you would hold nothing back in going for that. You wouldn't distract yourself. You would just sit down. You would release. You wouldn't get up until it was all done. Now we listen to that and we're like, ooh, that sounds like a really bad college semester. Something really, really horrible and time-consuming. But the truth is, when you start moving that direction, you discover it's none of that. It's actually easy. And so that's what we're going to practice. To just go all in, focus in on going free. And immediately you're going to see your life get easier. You're going to see your consciousness lift. And you're going to get in touch with your mastership, like your knowingness of who you are, in such a way you know you're not going to stop. You're just going to have this motivation that's just going to pull you because you're going to see the goodness of it. So this is what we're going to do. This is a course of freedom, and we're starting it next May, or next week, in May 8th. So following that, just so you know, because the way I've set this up is you're going to get in touch with yourself, really centered on what's most important. Because now we've learned that as much as we invest in our life, it can't be that important because it could all be taken away. So now's the perfect time to really look back on ourselves, get clear about where we are at. And then we're going to move out from here into some real demonstration, real wealth mastery. So following this, in July, we have a 6-week course on wealth manifestation. And I'll point this out because if you want to sign up for this Living Your True Purpose course, which is $495, you could add the other 6-week course to it for just $100 more. So if you go to the website, powerofquiet.com, you'll see the Living Your True Purpose course, and you'll see 2 options to order. One, to just do the upcoming, just this one by itself, or you could do both, and it's just $100 more for the second one. So that's like $595 for 12 weeks. And when you go to the website, in the shopping cart, you could also split that up into monthly payments as well. So it's like super easy. So if you're really ready to step up, then like the whole road is paved moving forward here. So I invite you to join us for this. All right, turn this off. And let's see, Lisa. Oh, you're already unmuted. You have a question?
Yeah. have a question. I have an odd situation. I have a roommate who is he's not a releaser as far as I know, but his attitude really is.
Uh-huh.
Because every time I bring something up, I'm worried about this, I'm worried about that. You know, we talk once in a while, and he has such an attitude of not caring, and not in an angry way, but in a very hootless kind of way. And it's
Kind of a little discrimination, like, what are you talking about?
yeah, not in a mean way, but I'll say, "Oh my God, the person downstairs. We have 8 cops in front of the door, and this," and he kind of looks at me like, "Who cares?" Like, and I'm like,
Ain't
sitting
nothing
there,
going on.
and, yeah, he's like, Why does it matter?" Like, and of course, my mind can't wrap around that, but it seeps into me, and I feel like I've been releasing or semi-releasing for years. You know me, and I think, why haven't I gotten to that point of being that clueless?
Mm-hmm. Well, you can. Look, you've done enough work. And
Yeah, I know.
here's a funny thing.
It just bothers me that my
Look.
mind pulls me in. It pulls me in. Like,
I remember going to a retreat in Bristol, in England. I think this was in 2010, 2011, and I was there with my teacher, Larry. And I remember I still had a lot of goals and things that I was into, and he could see that. I had a lot of, a lot of interest in the world still, a lot of addiction to it. And I remember he had pulled me aside one evening after a session and said, "What are you doing? You see how you're distracting yourself with all of this nonsense. Do you realize how close you are to freedom right now? Why don't you just focus and go all the way?" And he pointed that out. I looked at that and I said, "Am I?" And I started looking. I was like, I released. It's like, I really am. And I could feel it. Like, I could feel the accumulation of the work I'd done to that point. And I thought, well, maybe he's right. Maybe I could go all the way. And that really stuck with me. And see, each year, people ask, how long does it take to go free? Lester did it in 3 months. He said you could do it in 3 weeks.
Right.
How come so few people do it following him? And you heard him say it because people asked the same questions even back then. And he says the only difference is your attitude, your will to do it. And a lot of us, that's why we have to constantly check ourselves, check our thinking. Because a lot of us, we say, "Oh, yeah, of course. I'm totally committed on freedom." Liar. We think we are. And so sometimes we generally think we are, but it's just our mind talking to us. But as you release and as you have that intention, you solidify that intention, it gets stronger and stronger. And I find it in myself. And I've had big experiences over the years. I talked about them where I've really popped in, like my mind left for weeks at a time, no thought. Really, really high states. And there was still ego that came up after that, but it was like less and less each time. But over the years, I see, as much as I thought I wanted freedom and as strong as I was committed to it before, I know it can get much stronger than that. And as strong as it's been, now I say it can get even stronger than that, and the momentum just gets deeper and deeper.
Oh, I see.
Right?
Yeah.
So, first of all, you're probably closer than you think. If you just go all in, you'll see it, right? But even if not, so what?
It's just another opportunity.
You just take all you can do is take the next step. And there's a great quote I read from a book. It said, take the first step, no more, no less, and the next will be revealed. And that's another thing, just an attitude that I practice in my daily life and in my releasing, in my journey to going all the way.
Can I ask you a question, Chris? I'm thinking also is that I'm also very, I guess the word is sensitized. So I notice more and more what is bothering me. What is it about that situation? So maybe it's not that.
And see, that's a gain.
Oh, I see.
That's actually growth.
That's discrimination.
Yes, that's a huge gain when you really recognize your motivations, your habits, and you're more clear about them. You can discriminate about them.
I said, "Wow, I'm really getting crazy about that."
See, sometimes we think that that's bad. Like, oh, I'm feeling more, or I'm seeing more problems. No, you're moving out of apathy and stuckness into seeing like the garbage that you have, and sometimes you might be like, kind of wanting to throttle yourself. Why do you keep doing this? But you just keep moving up.
Oh, I see. Because before releasing, I think I'd be so mad, so angry, and then, well, what do I do with that? Right? It's like, and then push it down. So, okay. And my other thing is goals for money, because I go up and down with money. And I don't know, do I just stick with the same? I have a money goal.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I've gotten actually some gains from that.
Yeah.
And it was quite higher than I thought I should go for, but I've already gotten a certain amount of money. And then now was pushing it. And even with that, I was getting some gains, but I think you have to keep releasing.
Yeah.
Don't stop.
I just uploaded a video onto the YouTube channel yesterday about that. About really connecting your goals and aligning them with your purpose for freedom. Because oftentimes there's a disconnect there. We have goals, like money goals in particular, that are really more ego related, and they're not really connected with other intentions that we have, and also with our intention for freedom. See, we want them to satisfy us in other ways, and then there's a disconnect. It didn't quite work out. So in the video I talk about just remembering the basis of your overall purpose here and using the method, and remembering that imperturbability is the greatest thing, even more than the goal. So you can really focus on that. And then as you do the work on the goal, it's not so much for the result of the goal, but it's the goodness of the process of what you're uncovering in yourself as you're moving towards a goal, rising up and meeting it.
Yeah, it's actually releasing. So.
Yeah. See, when you value that more than the goal, I mean, the goal is there.
Right. But
what you really treasure is the work that you're doing as you're working towards the goal. Then, it makes it easy to get the goal. It makes it so that you can actually get it. Because when you're coming from your ego, you're almost guaranteed not to get it. Right? So that's the first thing. Then the second is that it's like a joyous thing. Right? It's like every moment is like a moment that you win. Because you're working on the goal, but you're feeling better. You're getting freer. You're seeing more of yourself.
Right.
Right. So, so the motivation is just inherent in that. And that just kind of makes the whole process very effortless.
Right. If you're allowing the feelings to come up.
Yes.
You have to be open and allowing, but if you're busy.
See, look, just keep it simple and practical. If you have feelings about it, Do you really want to carry those feelings around?
No.
Okay, and who do those feelings belong to?
Me or
Yeah, and they're not going to leave on their own because you're holding them down. The only way that they're going to leave is if you focus in and stop holding them down and you let them leave.
right.
And so you just got to find it in yourself. Where is it that you're holding them down? Keep looking for it. Keep digging for it. Keep bringing it up. And dropping it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let go of wanting to control them.
Yeah. So right now, could you
Right.
let go of wanting to control what's going on?
Yes.
And here's what I mean by, this is really practical. This whole process. See, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe Lester. He talks about, you can create all these goals and all that stuff. You don't have to believe any of that right now. See, for all you know, you can't control whether you'll be fabulously abundant. Right? You have no control over that for all
I
you know.
proved it in the past, but
Yeah, but for all you know, that's your reality right now. And of course, Lester says different, and other masters, but you don't know that.
right.
And it would be stupid for you to go around quoting masters, repeating what they say, if you don't know that for yourself. And that's what too many people do. They go around repeating, sharing quotes and so on. But unless you have that knowledge as your knowledge, it's useless knowledge. Unless you know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, so we're clear. For all you know, you don't know how to
No.
create that. But what you do know is you have some feelings that are weighing you down. And those feelings you can let go of because you've proved it before. You could drop those feelings. So what do you have to lose with letting go of the feelings that are bothering you about that, regardless of whether the money changes or not?
That's them wanting safety.
Okay. And does it help you to want safety?
No.
Doesn't keep you safe. It just keeps you miserable. And who's wanting it? Who's doing that?
I am.
All right, so if you're doing it, could you let go of wanting safety? A little
Yes.
bit.
Yeah, I can let it.
And could you let go of wanting safety a little bit more?
Yes.
And could you let go of wanting safety a little bit more?
Yeah.
And even more?
Yes.
And even more?
Yes. Yes.
And even more?
Yes.
And could you let go of wanting safety even more?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, how does that feel?
I can feel the weight just.
And does it feel more like you have safety? Like you're safer now? More secure?
Yeah. Yeah. By letting go of wanting.
Yeah. So, you see, you've had it all along. See, isn't this a great way? Because you don't have to believe me or Lester or anybody else, but you just take practical steps. Right? Well, I might not know if I can control the money, but I can control how I feel about it. That I can control.
Yes.
That I can I have power over and can do something about. And so I do it. And then you have proof. Well, if one moment you were lacking, you're wanting safety and you felt like you didn't have it, and you let go of the wanting it and you have it, well, if it works for the feeling, maybe it also works for money. And see, you've proved to yourself that the first part of the equation works. Now, get in touch with your want for money. You want it, right?
Yeah.
All right. And notice, it's a very lacking feeling to want it.
Yeah. Need it. I need it. Yes.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Ugh.
And you're doing that to yourself.
Right.
Could you let go of wanting it now?
Yes.
And could you let go of wanting it a little bit more?
Yes.
And a little bit more.
Yes. Yes.
And a little bit more.
Yes.
And a little bit more.
Yes.
All right. How's that feel?
Well, it feels a lot better.
Does it feel more like you could have the money?
Sorry?
Does it feel more possible to have the money?
Yeah, it just feels more possible for things in general.
Yeah.
You
See,
know what I
everything's
mean? Like,
connected. When you let go of wanting
everything.
that, yeah, it feels, oh.
Yeah.
I could have health, I
Yeah.
could have relationships, I could have it all. So again, it's proof. And so step by step, you prove it to yourself. And this way, it is your knowledge. And you know it. And once you know and go, wow, that's it. It's that easy. Then you can throw away the rest of your mind.
That sounds good.
It's very good.
Take this,
Take it, please.
wherever it's located.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
my
exist.
test-
That's why you can't locate it.
Yeah, it's all over.
But it's just in your imagination. You can dissolve the whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was very helpful.
Yeah. All right. Good work.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your help and everything.
Hey,
you're
my
doing.
pleasure. That's why we're
You're doing
here.
a great job.
Yeah. All right. So, nice comment, Rosa. Love taking the first step and not having to figure out all the other steps before I take the first one. And you don't have to also know all the extra steps that'll follow that first step. It's a great approach for freedom because right now you might not know how many steps it will take for you to go all the way to reach the ultimate goal. It could take 1, it could take 20, it could take 2 million. So you don't know that, but what you do know is you could take that first step right now, which is usually something that you could find that's still bugging you, still bothering you, still bringing up a contraction. You could still see some negativity, some wanting, some holding on, some attachments. And always that first step now is just look at your thinking, examine it and say, look at what I'm doing. I'm going to let that go. I'm going to drop that. And that's just that first step I could take right now. And you just take these steps. Step by step, you'll reach your destination. All right. Great evening. Really fabulous. Powerful releases. So we'll go ahead and conclude now. Thank you so much for joining and being here, sharing this wonderful energy, and for all of those that stepped up, did work, great job, and thank you for demonstrating, allowing the rest of us to follow along. See, we all get to release together. All right, so keep it up. Keep moving forward. And we'll see you next week. I'll schedule another one before we kick off the next set of classes. And then, once we start the new course, we'll see. I may not do these as often. I think by that point, things will start to get, more back to normal a little bit in the world. And maybe we won't need to, to get together as much like this. We'll see as it goes. But we'll schedule one next week. And if you're on the email list, you'll get notified about that. If not, go to powerofquiet.com, and at the top of the homepage, you can add yourself, and you'll be notified of everything that we do here. All right? So keep it up. Happy releasing, and peace out.